Alrighty, I think we're back. Looks like it. Okay, so now we're on lap 35 of 56. Do apologize for that. I guess my Streamlabs just stopped everything. I restarted everything and didn't come back up, so I had to restart Streamlabs. Unfortunate. Sorry about that. Do apologize. As we're now here on part 2 for Elite Aspect F125. Round 2 here in China at the Shanghai International Circuit. As it is OMB and Alberto. Pretty much been trading blows since then, so once we lost the stream, not much has happened. Except for Harrison Holmes and OMB Alberto still fighting. Animator has caught up quite a bit to Bobro. That is something interesting. MDJ is sticking within that 1 seconds to Young Lights for 9th and 10th. Florissant casually up to 7th. Not making inroads on Joe Animator. We'll see how that gap of 10 seconds to Young Lights behind, how that closes up, as Animator is making inroads, and OMB Alberto staying in that kind of slipstream DRS zone, but still a little bit too far back. As Naslin out front continue to set fastest lap after fastest lap. Someone to mention TRT Marcos Olmedo here at 11th just did set the fastest lap. On that set of hards, going to take them to the end. We'll see if that gap closes as well. As Young Lights has dropped down 2/10 in the last couple sectors to Florissant. Alberto a little bit closer now to Harrison Holmes as they wind down the first sector. Getting faster. But Harrison Holmes mediums compared to the much older, or 14 lap old mediums. Compared to the harder compound, but still 14 lap old hards. Oh, what a switchback from Bobril there to maintain the position. Sorry I missed that one so late. OMB Alberto is dropping back just a little bit, but fantastic move from Bobril to keep that position. As Animator was keen to make that overtake down the inside. Bobril broke early. And side by side, Harrison and Alberto go again. Alberto with the DRS still on the inside. Still a minor step out from the exit from Harrison Holmes. Gonna have the DRS going into turn 1. Meanwhile, Edmund Naslin is absolutely fine with all this going on behind. We'll take a look at Animator in the Ferrari. Add the DRS. Able to take a little bit of a faster line through turns 1 and 2. Baron kicked out through turns 3 and 4. They were unable to capitalize on that at that moment. Alberto has gotten out of the DRS as they make their way in the second sector here. Through 7 and 8. The detection zone is just after turn 11 coming up. So not going to be within the DRS now. Kick back to Animator and Bobril here in just a second. It's that far away, no DRS. Alberto should be pleased now. Try to stay there. Keep that 1 second gap. Leaving his Bobril in front. Exactly 1 second at the moment the DRS opens. That gap's only going to close down to maybe 8.5, 7.5 tenths. And then a little bit deep, so compromised on the exit. Harrison Holmes comes into the pits. Ghost on the hards is going to take over third spot on the podium. Also moving Bovril, Animator, and maybe even Florison up. No, Harrison Holmes is back out. In sixth spot on fresh set of mediums. So because it was a wet race and everybody started on the intermediates, you don't have to take an extra set of different compound. So we'll see how Mr. Harrison Holmes progresses through the next 18 laps here around Shanghai International Circuit in China for Elite Aspect F125, round 2 of this season. Because everybody's kind of spread out, there's really no battles going on. Animator and Bovril might still be a thing. Harrison Holmes catching up to them will also be fun to watch here in just a few. So we began the season when the game came out, right at the end of May, and pretty much gave everybody a week to practice, and then we started our own preseason testing, where we got 25, 30, 40 drivers, reserves, and full-times, all doing preseason testing around Bahrain and Spain. So 6 sessions at each one, 2 a day for 2 weekends. And our team principals then drafted the drivers. We've had some change-up, mix-up, move-arounds already, a silly season at the beginning of the season, right before it started, as far as driver changes, swaps, movements up and down as far as reserves to full-time and back down. But yeah, it's been a very interesting start to the season. So this was our first sprint race that that Edvin Naslin, who's leading this race in the Ferrari, did win in the Haas just yesterday. We also had a qualifying session. We'll put Harrison Holmes on pole position, who's dropped back down to 6th, but that gap to Animator was in that Ferrari is going to be dropping very, 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 very quickly. But everybody else looks to be a little bit spread out at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see how I think Edvin Naslim's in prime position. Will Alberto want to make another pit stop and push? As Animator was unable to keep that gap down to Bovril in front. Harrison Holmes is going to continue to gain and gain and gain. We're not seeing any of the other gaps really changing that much between drivers. So our leader, Edvin Naslin, starting lap 40 of 56 here for Elite Aspect F125, round 2 here in China. As we'll make our way to Japan for the next race, and then I believe Bahrain, and one more stop in Saudi Arabia in the Middle East before we head out. Just keeping an eye. Yeah, there's going to be some penalties at the end of the race handed out. This is our leader, Edvin Naslin, who strategically stayed on the intermediates during the safety car and built a nice gap as the track was drying out, and then was able to put on a set of mediums very late on in the race. So these mediums are not that old. He'll be able to go on to the end on them. So unless bar something significant happening, we'll move back to the Sauber of Harrison Holmes here, who's setting fastest sectors. Finishing up sector 1 is going to take these mediums to the end, I guarantee. And unless it rains again. And that gap is already within half a second. So expect to see Harrison Holmes moving through the field quite nicely. At least till he gets to the Bovril Ghost area, and we'll see how long that takes. There's a podium still in the cards for our pole sitter. Already passed, then opens the DRS. Animator's not going to be too upset about pulling him along as well. That releases Harrison Holmes now to go maybe track down Bovril. That is a 2-second gap as he sets the fastest lap. A fresh set of mediums. 15 laps to go. Should be able to take them to the end. They're not going to be great at the end, but I think is able to push for the next few laps. As with the changing weather conditions, especially at the start, it raining, and then the track drying, some people switching tires. Harrison that sets a fastest middle sector again. On those fresh mediums shouldn't be an issue. Now getting slipstream in DRS. On Bovril, who is not really going to be able to do much to defend here. And that is a 9-second gap now to Ghost with 14 laps to go. So we'll see how fast that gap closes. Elite Aspect F125, round 2 here in China, Shanghai International Circuit. Harrison Holm has dropped that gap to less than 4 seconds, lap 44 of 56. As we pick up here with the final stint of this race, Still interesting as far as tire degradation is concerned. Now Allison has made those 2 stops. Alberto up 2, but 26 lap old hards, another 12 laps. That'll be interesting. Harrison Holmes 6 laps old mediums, closing and closing and closing that gap to a podium position. Really only 10 seconds back of second place. Florissant, very old hard compound tires. As with Joe Animator in the Ferrari. MDJ in 10th on fresh mediums. With 12 laps to go. 17 seconds behind. That'll be interesting to see. Starting lap 45 of 56, we brought on board, or take around the track, Edvin Naslin in the Ferrari, 12.5 seconds up the road on O&B Alberto. Harrison Holmes still closing that gap. On track matters. We do see penalties abroad for some of these drivers. That battle between Young Lights and Florissant is going to heat up, I still believe, more towards the end of the race. But these fresh tires of Harrison Holmes, we will flip back to here in just a moment. Up to 5, pick your braking spot, get into 6, get it slowed down, get it turned in, find the traction, and get back on the power. Maybe a downshift, maybe an upshift. Through the fast 7 and 8. Pick the line through 9 and 10. It's an out in. Close that gap to less than a second. It's going to get DRS out of 13 here. Unless we see rain right at the death here. We're going to take the inside line. Looks like there might have been a little more traction there. I don't know. Way to get a little bit of a downhill exit on that curved embankment. I think with the DRS, Ghost is not going to be able to defend this too much. Has to pull him behind. A little bit of a lock up and turned in tight there. Set Ghost off just a little bit. That's unfortunate for cutting that corner. That one didn't look like it. He was able to use DRS and maybe close that gap back in. Unable to get the nose in to turn 1, which does help. I think with these medium tires, especially through sector 2 here, is going to be able to ride off and open that gap on Ghost. Florissant, very, very old hards. Going to try to keep Young Lights at bay on much fresher hards. I think that's a 10 lap difference here. With 10 laps to go here. The gap from MDJ to TRT Marcos Olmedo has dropped a couple seconds, but 10 laps to go and a 15-second gap. We would need to see that down to at least 10 over the next lap or so, if it's that much of an improvement. So. As we were checking in on Young Lights, who we thought was closing that gap to Florissant. It's remaining pretty steady here at 2.5 seconds. As Harrison Holmes is now 6.5 less than on O&B Alberto. Over the next 9 laps, we'll see how that progresses. We'll then have another 12 seconds to Edvin Naslin. I think Master Stroke not qualifying as high, or maybe started on second. I'm not quite sure. It started on second, in second. able to take control of the race. Remember, the beginning race was Berto, Naslin, Young Lights, Harrison Holmes, Marcos Almeida, Bobril, all of them in a fantastic fight in the wet at the beginning of the race. As the drivers are just finishing up, I mean, this is credit to all the drivers. They're sticking with it and completing the race and fighting for positions and aiming to improve no matter what. For a 100% race around China, where there is no assist, it was raining early. So credit to these drivers sticking with it. We've been going for, more than an hour and a half already of pure racing, full concentration in the wet, switching to the dries. His Young Lights is continuing to close that gap, and his sector times show that he's very, very close to pretty much the laps that he's consistently doing. So we do expect to see that drop a little bit. Harrison Holmes has now dropped the gap to O&B Alberto for second to 5 seconds. And MDJ now almost 13 seconds behind Marcos Almeida. So that's going to have to change drastically for that one to maybe at the death if MDJ can really, really pick up the pace. But Florson at risk here with Young Lights chasing him down. 8 laps to go. And only 1.5 seconds behind into turn 1. We can take a look. 4 stops. The hard tires aren't that much fresher. Even though it says he's had 4 stops to Florson's 1. That doesn't make much sense. We did have some issues earlier with drivers getting ejected from the session. Same with me and my Streamlabs stopping to work one time, so I had to invite a few people. But we're back up and running. Lap 49 of 56, Elite Aspect F125 here for round 2 around the Shanghai International Circuit in China. We've got Young Lights chasing down Florson for 7th position. And there's a handful of points there, a couple points there. As Harrison Holmes has dropped that gap to 4 seconds to OMB Alberto. OMB Alberto, I think, has closed the gap to Edvin Naslin just a touch, but the way the tires are, I think Edvin Naslin also has the advantage there. It may just be chilling it out. As we see Young Lights in that slipstream, a little too far back to even think about it. However, should be able to take advantage here soon, as the clock is timing down. The laps are dissipating for a chance to move up 1 spot. For Harrison Holmes, it's 1 spot on the podium to 2nd, and for Young Lights, it is 8th to 7th to grab a couple more points out of the bag. With the penalties, which we're not going to look at, that'll all be decided after the race. We're here to see what happens on track. As Young Lights is the closest. The gap, Harrison Holmes has dropped it to 3.7 seconds. We have a yellow flag in Sector 2. Was that Luz maybe just going off a little bit outside of turn 10? As we are with Young Lights in the Alpine, making his way down by this little teeny straight into turn 11. At that detection zone, looked like it was less than a second. We may see a DRS overtake here on the back straight. The DRS is open. Young Lights within 1 second. Able to close it to about 4/10, 3/10 even into the turn. Less than 2/10 coming out, but again, that'll change quickly. As the change in speed and your braking line and your braking zone, but more DRS here going into turns 1 and 2. Ought to be late on the brakes. Maybe hope they go wide. You can take the inside line. Not quite. Unable to push it around the outside to make a move into turn 3. So keep an eye on this battle as the laps keep ticking down. Lap 50 at 56, Elite Aspect F125. No assist, 100% race around China. We had a sprint race earlier. We had preseason testing. We had OB Alberto, the winner in Australia in round 1. I'll tell you, if the finish here is the way it is, then the constructor standings, if B-Carb's reign, will be chiseled out a little bit by the Ferraris of Joe Animator and Ed Van Naslin here. As Animator on no penalties, Ghost has some, Harrison Holmes has some. Back on the straight, out of turn 13, very, very close. Young Lights is this time. Coruscant gives the inside line. Lock up from Young Lights as they make their way out of the turn. Doesn't look like Florissant is able to hang on, but is going to get DRS into turn 1. We'll keep an eye on this one more time. And we're going to have to move up to Harrison Holmes and Alberto. As look at that DRS. Takes the inside into turn 1. It's probably going to come out wide. As again, there's Young Lights down the inside. Florissant a little bit of wheel banging back and forth. Has to back out. Again, 10 lap old difference of tires. Great battle between those two. Yeah, there was a little bit of contact, but look at the overspeed that Florissant had there. Wasn't able to react in time to get moved. But side by side they go through turns 7, 8 here. Let's hold your breath. Down into turn 9. Around turn 10, Florissant's going to get the DRS this time. Banana Josh with a late pit stop. Florissant get a run at all out of it. Is the DRS from there going to be strong enough? Moves to the inside. Again, fantastic from Young Lights this time. As we're keeping on Florissant with the DRS. Into turns 1 and 2. A little bit less this time. Able to maybe put a nose down the inside. Young Lights takes a little bit wide. Is going to have the line though. They're going to be side by side into turns 2 and 3. 3 and 4. Florissant unable to capitalize. We got to move back up to the leaders now as Florissant does have DRS. Harrison Holmes in the Kick Sauber now has DRS. As we're beginning lap 53 of 56 to begin here shortly. Still Florissant and Young Lights battling it on. Will Harrison Holmes have anything going into turn 1? I think he's happy to sit back and relax. Does have fresher tires still. The mediums might not be that great. I think they're only about 10 laps old now. But is able to harass O&B Alberto quite readily on these fresher set of tires. Florissant and Young Lights still battling back there. Bloods and Banana Josh. As one of them just pit. Florissant just made a move around Young Lights. Young Lights able to fight back again. Probably the same thing that we just witnessed. As it's the go to the inside and or stay to the outside, break early, let them overtake you down the inside, and then run the cutback on them. Harrison Holmes is bullying O&B Alberto here, taking the outside line through turn 12. Who's going to get the DRS? As now it is O&B Alberto in the slipstream already. Got the DRS, it looks like. A little bit of a movement from Harrison Holmes there. Keeping the inside line is going to have to go really, really deep. Elbows out for sure. Didn't see too much about that. I mean, yeah, you can talk about it later. But Robin's racing. Coruscant and Young Lights still really going at it. Into turn 1. Oh, big Alberto got a nose in there. Making a better exit here. Unable to make that one count. Got a back marker in front. Whoa, again, the overspeed. Where does that slipstream come from? As we see Harrison sliding a little bit. Is that going to give O&B Alberto, even though he doesn't have as good tires? Can he hang on the outside of turn 7 there? I mean, yeah, turn 7 into turn 8. Now he's going to be on the outside of 9 and 10. Going to have to come up with something special. This is for second place, ladies and gentlemen. We are on board with O&B Alberto chasing Harrison Holmes here. Unfortunate that Harrison Holmes is going to get the DRS off the back marker in front of him. Absolutely unfortunate for O&B Alberto here. Coruscant and Young Lights still battling now. We're on the penultimate lap here. O&B Alberto needs to close this gap back up. I think does a really, really, really good job here through turns 1 and 2. So able to keep the rear end steady. Coruscant dropped back less than a second from Young Lights. Didn't get the DRS there, maybe. They have a back marker as well. Maybe Young Lights also got. Coruscant did close the gap there at the end. It's 2 laps remaining here. This lap and 1 more. Great control and technique from Alberto there to keep that car. Really just needs to stay within at least 3 seconds. If you do see a penalty there for Harrison Holmes, but Harrison Holmes with the pressure tires, I think, is just able to outlast between sector 2. It's where it all comes to fruition with those tires. It's too far back. Is Florissant able to? Into turn 6. Check out Alberto into turn 1. Might not have DRS. Back to Florissant and Young Lights. Behind them is a back marker of Bluz, which is not going to give Young Lights. Maybe could have played it a little bit better. But Florissant was just past 1 second. I'm not sure if he's going to get the DRS. It does open. 6, 5, 4.5. Really only close the gap to 4/10 there. Looks like Harrison Holmes has broken, especially now in the second sector on the final lap of this Grand Prix, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like Harrison Holmes is able to, especially in the second sector on the pressure tires, was able to break the toe. I don't think OMB Alberto is going to have a chance going into this final lap to beat Harrison Holmes. You can see them in the background. It is Edvin Naslund leading this race, making his way around the final turns here at the Shanghai circuit here in China for round 2 of Elite Aspect F121. Reeving back and forth. There is your race winner, Edvin Naslund. Congratulations to the Ferrari team. As you do see Harrison Holmes and OMB Alberto across the line, there'll be some penalties handed out, so it might be a change there. The last thing we do not want to check in on, though, is this is it, ladies and gentlemen. The last available position to change hands, as they both have penalties. We don't know for what or how much. Will be Florison in the Aston Martin. One on Young Lights in the Alpine. 5.5 tenths, less than 4 tenths, less than half a second. That overspeed is going to be so much. Moves to the outside. Young Lights maintains the inside. Has to cut into the inside. A little bit of contact there. Who is that going to help? It's going to be a drag race across the line. Oh, no more contact there. And as they cross the line pretty much at the same time. Oh, Young Lights had a 10-second unserved penalty. Unfortunate to see what that was. And as we'll wait for all the other drivers to cross the line and finish the session. Congratulations, Edvin Naslund in the Ferrari. Great race. Started the race in wet conditions. Everybody on the intermediates. About 15, 20 laps, something changed. It started to dry. Some people went on intermediates, or went on slicks. That didn't help them. The intermediates were still the right tire. We had a safety car. Some people stayed out, some people stayed in. Congratulations to Edvin Naslund here. It does look like on the podium it will be OMB Alberto in second, with Harrison Holmes taking up third with penalties. But on track, those were some excellent battles, especially towards the end. The first 10 to 15 laps were absolutely glorious to watch. The top 4 and 5 drivers all mixing it up. There were very few incidents to report. So congratulations to those drivers. Congratulations to Ferrari. Might actually, with Joe Animators and Marcos Romero and OMB Alberto, Marcus's time where he finished. That'll definitely have something to say about how the Ferraris and B-carbs. McLarens were up there as well. Great drive from everyone. Changeable conditions, different strategies about for everyone. It was fantastic to watch from my point of view. We did have a few internet issues in there in between, but we don't need to bring that up anymore. I don't know why that happened so fast. I did not get to see. It usually pops that up, but I would like to have had that. I'd like to see the race standings and the race whatever, but it looks like everything happened so fast, and we're back too. So we're gonna go ahead and stop this stream, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Next week we'll be in Japan for free practice 1, 2 on Thursday, free practice 3. And qualifying on Friday, and then the race 100% around Japan. Be 100%, no assists, and looking for a very good time. And Japan doesn't allow for that great of overtaking, but I think on this game it should be fun. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.